Hi viewers, welcome to Vidyalakshmi YouTube channel. So today we are going to see the part 3 from chapter 2, standard 8, social science from trade to territory. So this is the final part, and from this lesson, previous videos, if you have any doubts, you can make a previous video and cross check. It will be helpful for you to understand, better understanding. Okay, then we will enter to the topic. As an introduction part, this quotation we know very well. Anybody can make history, only a great man can write it. The word said by Oscar Wilde. Okay, next. For our easy understanding, I mentioned here as a part of part 3. Part 1, part 2 and part 3. So, history means it is a story, you know that very well. Okay, so as a history, like a story, we have to understand everything. So, in this session we are going to discuss about Marathas, annexation of Sindh, annexation of Punjab, the doctrine of lapse, annexation of Awadh, and setting up of new administration, and finally British administration system in India. So, these are all the topic we are going to discuss in this session. Number 1, Marathas. 2 and 3 are annexation policy. Number 3, another important policy introduced by the Britishers, doctrine of lapse, and then annexation of Awadh, and then setting up of new administration, and finally British administrative system. Next, the Marathas. The Marathas became very weak. Why they became very weak? Due to the third battle of Panipat in 1761. Continuously they stretched a war. In the third war they became so weak. Unity among the Maratha chiefs are destroyed. It was destroyed because of the domination. So, who want to become higher? Whether I am a superior or some other people are superior, like that, there was a clash race. This resulted, they became very weak, and they were divided into many states under the chiefs. Why they weak? Now they were separated. The unity getting separated, namely Barnsley, and then Gaikwad, Scindia, and then Holkar. So, these are all the places. Why specifically given here means these are all the map places. Okay. So, some lines are highlighted and they gave separately means it should be marked under the map places. The Peshwa was a nominal head of the confederacy. Confederacy means a group, a team. In the team, the nominal head was Peshwa. The British took advantage of their disunity because of the domination. Disunity, there were 3 Anglo-Maratha war was lasted between 1775 to 1889. Easily we can remember the year 1775 to 1818. Next, let me see the first Anglo war, second Anglo war, and the third Anglo war. Why they become weak now? We have to know the reasons. First Anglo war, it was lasted between 1775 to 1782. No clear victor, nobody got the victory, ended with a treaty. Finally, they stopped the war with a treaty called Salbai, and the British got the right to occupy Salsette for trading, just for trading, and they occupied some places, and also they make a free trade. In second Anglo war, it was lasted between 1803 to 1805. In 1802, Peshwa Bajirao II signed the Treaty of Bazaine. It forced to accept the subsidiary alliance. Let me see, sir, what is subsidiary alliance? Who introduced? Well, let me see one by one. Okay. In previous part also we came to know subsidiary alliance. If you have any doubts in previous session, in previous video, it getting added. Okay. British gained control over the Orissa. What is that subsidiary? They got some trade right. That's all based on the agreement. The Peshwa became the disgruntled. It means what? Not satisfied. They are not getting satisfied. Puppet in their hand, because the complete power was held by the British, but there was a king, he became a puppet ruler. Next, the third Anglo war. So, first again one more time we will make a small recap. 1775 to 1782, first Anglo war. Second Anglo war, 1803 to 1805. In first war, Anglo war, what was the result? No victor. In second, they were not satisfied, but they got some trade rights. The ruler became a puppet. Next year, the third one, 1817 to 1818. It was lasted only 2 years. Finally, the power of Marathas and Peshwa was dethroned. They were overthrown. They were thrown, dethroned. He was given a pension. They removed. He was out of the area. He was given a pension and sent to Bithur near Kanpur in Uttar Pradesh. Bithur near Kanpur. Okay, next annexation of Sindh. Then British has started, after this great war victory, British has started the following policy of annexation policy. Number one, previously they got lot of places, and annexation of these two area gave them more strength to the British. From among them was number one, annexation of Sindh. Sindh occupied a strategic position, important position, strategic position. The East India Company was worried that Russia might invade from this side, because why they were focusing those areas, it is a land, a gap provided there, it is a entrance for the Russia to enter, so that they decided to annex the region. They had signed the treaty of friendship with a mutual understanding. They signed the treaty of friendship with Amir. Generally Britishers, they will implement some rules, but they immediately they can violate. So as the same condition, here too they followed. They violated the treaty. Actually, the treaty was signed in 1809 and another at 1832, but both of them failed. It vain, totally waste. It was also agreed no war vessel. Based on that, further there will be no war. Would pass through the Indus River. But the British violated, they occupied the region in 1843. So in this particular slide, we should remember three important years. Friendship treaty, they signed two in two different years. One is 1809 and another one 1832, and another one they annexed they violated the rule and they occupied completely in 1843. Next, the annexation of Punjab. Previously we came to know the Sindh, because they fear about the Russian attack. So that they occupied the Sindh. Next one is Punjab. Maharaja Ranjit Singh consolidated number of Mists into kingdom. He is regarded as the last of independent Indian ruler. Kindly note it down this point. Independent Indian ruler, the last. He was the last. Okay, that is a highlighting point here. After his death, Punjab could not remain independent for a very long time. So what we want to understand, we need one powerful leader. If the absence of leadership, there might have been any chance may create and it will destroy everything. One such a beautiful example, this particular slide, it gives an absolute example in Punjab. The British took advantage of the instability because there is no powerful leader in Punjab, and they finally occupied the rule. Everything brought under the control of a company. Okay, what company? British East India Company. Next, the doctrine of lapse. Then British has suddenly introduced one new policy called the doctrine of lapse. What is the doctrine of lapse? Who introduced it? Lord Dalhousie introduced this particular policy. According to the policy, if any of the Indian ruler not have a natural heir, adopted son, in olden days we have a habit, if the king doesn't have any natural heir, he can adopt a child from his family or from a distant one, whatever it may be, adopted son. He has a power to rule, but according to this policy, it came to lapse, completely lapsed. Doctrine of lapse for annexing Indian states. He applied the policy and all over the states like Satara, Nagpur, Jhansi, Udaipur and Sambalpur. According to this policy, if a ruler of any dependent state died without an heir, directly from heir means son, it doesn't have the natural heir, his state would lapse. Directly it will go to the British. The East India Company, now there was another problem getting increased. What was the problem? Already due to the annexation policy, their income getting increased. This resulted, they become more powerful. Financially, they became more powerful. The East India Company had become the paramount power in India, one of the powerful, they hold one powerful position. Dependent states could not pass on the power to the adopted son without the permission. Without the permission. So, without permission, they can't do anything from the British. So, this was a problem they faced. Next, annexation of Oudh. So, doctrine of lapse we came to know. Next one is annexation of Oudh. Oudh was annexed by Lord Dalhousie. What policy? According to the doctrine of policy. But this created unrest. Generally what will happen, if someone, third person occupy our property, automatically there will be a problem will raise, the same condition was happened here. The British army, as most of them belong to Oudh, so it gave a misbalance. Problem, how the problem getting outcome, the problem is they had large soldiers, East India Company maintained the soldiers, but the soldiers are belonging to Oudh. This act made Lord Dalhousie very unpopular. The company acquired control over large territories in India by 1857 according to the policy. What was the policy? Doctrine of lapse. It exploited India economically. They started draining more and more wealth. They completely drained all the financial sources here. They soon realized and hold India and strengthened their administrative structure. They soon realized and hold India because they want, financially they become more powerful, so they want to maintain the financial stability, so that they strengthen the Indian administrative system here, their administrative structure here. Next, setting up of new administration, because now, for example, previously I was living in a rent house, now I constructed a own house. After entering into my new house, one more house I built. Like that I constructed nearly more than 10, 20, like that. What will happen? Automatically, I will make some administrative setup. The same condition Britishers also did. When their property in India gaining more, they started making some changes in their administrative system. India was ruled by a private English company. India was ruled by a private English company for the purpose of trade, purely on the grounds of trade alone. Their aim to increase profit, their main aim, because they know the value of the Indian goods, Indian grocery items. They got here at a very minimum cost and they sold at a huge profit in the European continent. That is why they focused totally in India. The British government realized the employees of East India Company were becoming rich by adopting their unfair means. In one particular situation, the king became poor. While we compare to the financial wise, status wise, property wise, if we compare, company became powerful. Now the power of the British getting reduced. So they had a confusion. If we are giving more and more flexibility, now what will happen? Automatically they become very popular. We will become helpless, hopeless, like that one condition will come. So they wake up suddenly to regulate. So they decided to regulate, so that they introduced a new administrative system through a act called a Regulating Act. The act was passed in the year 1773. These are all important 1 marks. In which year Regulating Act was passed? The Regulating Act was passed by the British in India during the year 1773. Next, the Regulating Act. What are the conditions they set? There are only 4 conditions. Number 1, Governor of Bengal became the Governor General of India. He was a leader of one particular area. Now he is getting appointed as a entire Indian territories. He became a leader of entire administrator. Become a important administrator of entire India. To help the governor, a council of. For that he needs some assistance, So all job we can't do we can't play a single role. So with the help of he was getting supported with 4 members from different zones. How many members were helping? Totally 4. First one is, what is the first condition? Governor now became Governor General of India. Now, next one is, the council was getting supported with 4 members. Then, the Supreme Court was set up at Calcutta for administration and other, to handle the 3 important cases, civil, criminal and constitutional cases. So, they set up a important administrative unit, judicial department at Calcutta. The Supreme Court was first established during the British rule. It was first set up at Calcutta. The director of the company were required to place before the ministry all correspondence relating to civil, military and revenue. Civil, military and revenue. So they want to submit the report, matter relating to India. The directors were the 4 members here. First, Governor Bengal became the Governor General of India. For him getting assisted by 4 members, and they appoint some directors. The directors of the company were required to place before the ministry, because they only the chief administrator of India during the East India Company rule. Now the setup getting changed. So they want to submit. The directors of the company were required to place before the ministry. At what ministry? British ministry. All correspondence relating to, especially the three: civil, military and revenue. Next, Pitt's India Act. Following to the Regulating Act, and one more act was put in passed for political purposes. For example, the land, especially the border. For political purposes, the company was under the British government. So completely everything brought under the control of British. Next, the governors of Bombay and Madras were made fully subordinate to the Governor General of India. So who is the head here? Governor General. Next to him only these people. Next, the Governor General was given the power to overrule the advice of the council. Next, third important power. First power, for political purposes, the company was under the British government. Company under British government. Just like a key you can remember. Number 2, the governors of Bombay and Madras under the control of Governor General. Next, the Governor General can overrule the advice of council. Finally, the company retained its monopoly over Indian trade. Finally, as usual, they started the trade. Monopoly, they play a single role. Mono means single, poly means trade. Single trade, they are the one and only people. They doesn't give any support or privilege or any special privileges to any of the other people. They only played a solo trade performance in India. Okay, and finally, the British administrative setup. How they administrated India? Based on the three. It is a three important wing: army, police and civil service. Army, police and civil service. Number 1 army, 2 police and number 3 civil service. So, okay, army. They recruit the Sipais from Awadh and also Bihar, Benares. A policy of discrimination. What they followed? They followed some discrimination. The qualified Indians are depromoted. Then the unqualified British are paid high salary. They followed some discrimination in the posting as well as salary. Next, the police. Army for border. Police for internal protection. Lord Cornwallis organized a proper force. In olden days it was called Thanas. What do you mean by Thana? It is a police station. The number of Thanas means Daragas. For example, it is located at the district headquarters. Now we have the setup, district, then town, like that we have some setup. The same setup. Initially it was created, it was named as a Thana. Thana means a police station. The number of police stations under the control means it is called Daragas. There, police officer, several Thanas under the control of the district. Okay, next, the civil service. Civil service, laying road, drinking water supply, health, these are all the things we want to take care. In 1853, especially in 1853, the appointments were made by the directors of the company. Initially they had the right. Who had the right? Only the directors. Directors of the company, but later they conducted the exam. For example, IAS, the posting they introduced is nothing but IAS. Initially the director has the right to appoint members, but after when the competition getting more, if they were in need of a more when they started more recruitment, they conducted as a competitive exam at London, not in India. They conducted the exam in England. Okay, these are all the setup, some new setup they made under the British administrative setup. Okay. Then judiciary, the final one is judiciary. This is our last topic, last slide. Okay. Justice was enforced through a system of civil and criminal courts. Initially, when the judicial setup was framed, in that time, only two branches, one is civil and another one is criminal. The courts were presided over by the English, but were assisted by the Maulvis and Hindu Pandits. Why? For language translation, for the interpretation of traditional law prevalent in India. Okay, according to the tradition benefit, they are appointing some peoples. So that is why during the British rule, the judicial system was more costly and timing, because they used first Greek and then first they used Latin language and then they converted into English, and then only it will be reconverted to regional language. So it taken a long time as well as time waste first of all, and then they spend more money. In 1775, 11 Pandits. So this is one of the important one mark, Raja. All you must keep in mind first of all. In 1775, they got appointed. How many Pandits? 11 Pandits. Compiled a digest of Hindu laws, and N.B. Halhed translated into English. The Pandit, they framed everything. According to their framing statement, he translated into English by the Regulating Act. The act called a Regulating Act. Okay. So hope you can understand the topic. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Thank you.